A new scheme to help local community groups is being considered by the Dunedin City Council. It's the brainchild of Councillor Jinty MacTavish, and she joins us to talk about it. Good evening.
Kia ora.
What is your vision with this scheme?
Well, I guess there's a couple of things. What we know, or what we identified through our recent representation review, is that some parts of our community have community boards, and by virtue of that they have access to a whole load of expertise and easy access to staff. And there are other parts of our community which don't have community boards and they don't have that easy access. So the vision with this scheme is to level the playing field a bit, make it easier for community groups that are working outside of community board areas to access that same expertise and information and advice and resourcing that our community boards do.
And how do you aim to do that?
Well, I guess we're not quite sure yet. We're looking at the options. So staff are working up a report that they'll bring back in January. We're hoping that it'll give us a few different ways of approaching the issue. One of the options is to build on things that we've done in the past. So we've piloted something called a place-based scheme, where one staff member has been dedicated to each part of the CBD. That's been trialled in North East Valley, and I think with quite a lot of success. It's been, I guess, hampered a bit by resourcing. So when you have one staff member who's got a busy day job and this is a tag on, it can be a bit of a stress. So what we're looking at now is how much resourcing might be required to roll out something like that more widely, whether or not perhaps it's better to have a one-stop shop within council where all of those staff members, full-time staff members, are based, where they might and those guys would be the ones that handled all of the community requests rather than it going dispersed throughout council.
Mm-hmm. What is the next phase then of this project likely to be?
So staff are working up these options and they'll be bringing back a report in January for us to consider. Against each of the options there'll be a budget line. Some of them will be within existing budgets, others perhaps a bit more. If there are budgetary impacts, we'll go out for consultation with the community. So that would mean in March next year, as part of the annual plan process, we'll say, hey guys, what do you think of this idea? What do you think of this approach? Give us your feedback and tell us whether you think it's worth the investment. So that's the next stage.
How do you think communities will respond?
Well, all the feedback that I have received to date has been enormously positive. You know, there are many amazing community groups doing phenomenal things out there for the community, and sometimes navigating council processes to get the information that's required can be quite challenging. So, you know, groups like Brockville or Kistorfin that are doing great place-based stuff are saying that's actually a really neat idea. So, I don't know, I guess we'll see what the feedback is come March, but to date, I think the feedback has been very positive.
What are the benefits of having community groups?
Oh boy, there are so many. You know, in this day and age where we're very mobile as people, it can be quite hard to foster that sense of community unless you're tagged to a school or something like that. We tend to have communities of interest these days rather than geographic communities. But what we've identified at council and what a lot of studies say is that actually geographic communities are really powerful things to promote the well-being of our communities. And so everything that those community groups do, from enhancing the local park or working together with schools to do neat things with young people, all of that stuff is building community, building pride, building a sense of identity for people, giving people meaning and contact with others in their life, and all of that is really positive.
Are similar schemes run anywhere else?
Yes, there are. So Hamilton is a good example. They have got dedicated staff that work with dedicated communities so that there is that point of contact for anyone from any given community into council. So we're looking at models like that. There are other models in other parts of the country that do it in different ways. So it's not a new thing. It's definitely, you said it was my brainchild. It's not my brainchild. It's just a copycat, really.
Dunedin City Councillor Jinty MacTavish, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.